Well, unbeloved Member of Parliament for Edmonton needs no introduction from me, really. He has been a very long-standing and vocal supporter of the Cyprus cause for many, many years, and I'm delighted he's here with us, and he's our last speaker of the evening. So I'm
can conclude the meeting.
How long have I got? I'm minus 3 minutes already. Well, look on it this way. I've been here nearly as long as you have, and I'm wilting, so I do feel for all of you here tonight. It's been a long evening, and we've had a lot of speakers. I want to first of all disagree with all those speakers who said that they have very few Cypriots in their constituencies, because I have a very large number of Cypriots, both Greek Cypriots and Turkish Cypriots in my constituency, and I think probably it's between myself and David Burrows in next door Southgate as to who has the largest Cypriot community. And one of the great joys I have is when I go to Cyprus, I can always say when I meet parliamentarians there, I've got even more Cypriot constituents than you have. So it's always a joy. I have to start with an apology. I'm not sure whether it happened. It certainly didn't happen while I was here, but I did run into Joan Ryan much earlier on, who tonight has her Air and Sea Cadets from Enfield in Parliament here, and they're meeting John Hutton, the Defence Minister, so they'll all be able to ask that. I suspect they'll be a really tough audience for John Hutton, but she did ask me to specifically say how sorry she was that she wasn't able to be with you, but to reassure you that she remains committed to the issue of Cyprus and to finding a solution and to playing her part along with other parliamentarians. I wanted to just, when I came through the door earlier on tonight, who was I greeted by but Gerald Kaufmans? Yeah. And I wanted to say what a great thing it was to see Gerald here tonight, because I go back long enough. I fought my first election, losing, in 1992 in the Edmonton constituency, and Gerald Kaufmans came twice during that election campaign to speak specifically about Cyprus. I'm sure Gerald mentioned, I didn't hear his words, but I guess he would have mentioned his very, very long association with Cyprus. But what I want to pay credit to here tonight was the continuity. What Gerald did in 1992 was to raise Cyprus up the Labour Party's agenda. And he passed that on to successive shadow foreign secretaries, but perhaps he had the closest relationship with Robin Cook. And the great thing, and I want to pay particular credit to Gerald Kaufmans, the great thing that they did, and I was, in a sense, a very small bit player in this as it unfolded, was to come through with reasons as to why we should be getting Cyprus into the European Union. And many people have mentioned tonight the importance of the European Union going forward, and I wouldn't like to underestimate the role that Gerald, it's often Robin Cook that gets the credit for it, but I can assure you that the genesis of the desire for Cyprus to join the European Union in Britain's government really rests with Gerald, so I'd like to pay tribute to him for that. I want to say, people have been relatively pessimistic, and I think it's always the wise course with Cyprus, having gone on for such a long time, never to be too optimistic, because we've been here before. But I'd like to join Simon Hughes in being just a little optimistic about the situation, and I say that for a number of reasons. First of all, in relation to what is happening on the island itself, because we have a president, regardless, I'm sure, in many people's eyes, they disagree to a great extent with his political point of view. but we have a president who made it the centrepiece of his election campaign, who has made it the sole thrust of his government to pursue the peace process to a conclusion. And I think that has not been something that we've seen in Cyprus before, and I think it's something that we should all hold on to in these difficult times as we move forward. On the other side, we have Mr. Tala, and many people have commented on the real pressures he's under from the Turkish mainland, from the army, and none of which I would want to demur from. Undoubtedly, he doesn't have full control over what happens in the north of the island. He is very much subject to the whim of whoever the Turkish army leader is, or whatever instructions are coming from Turkey. But he is the interlocutor in the negotiations. There is, as I understand it, a very good relationship personal relationship between Mr. Tala and President Christofias. I understand that Mr. Tala attended the funeral of the President's father-in-law as a signal of the close, friendly relations there are between those two personalities. Now, I would be wrong, entirely wrong, to suggest for a second that two close personalities makes a solution. Of course it doesn't. And we know the problems that there are. But what this does is it gives the opportunity for Cyprus to say, we're for a solution, what about the rest of you? And it's really that I want to concentrate on. It's the role that everyone else should be playing to allow Cyprus to fulfill the destiny that those two leaders of the two communities are trying to put together. Now, I would love to be able to tell you that Britain was doing more than it actually is doing. Although I would want to say to you, in all honesty, that I think the appointment of the new Europe Minister, who has responsibility for Cyprus, the two visits that she's made, one literally within days of her becoming the Minister for Europe, have, I think, created a good atmosphere. This, of course, follows on. I won't go into the history, and we all know the history of the real difficulties following the referendum campaigns between Cyprus and the United Kingdom. But her appointment follows on the memorandum that someone commented on earlier on, which I do think has created a new atmosphere. And what we need to do is to build, and this is where your friends in Parliament come in, we need to build on that relationship. I was interested to see, for example, that as the Minister for Europe, she came out very publicly, only days ago, suggesting that Turkey needed to play a much more active and positive role in the peace process. Now, that's not a remarkable thing to say. We've been saying that for years, but it's interesting that it's said by a British minister and the minister responsible. And I do think that if we can build upon that, and I commit myself, and I'm sure all the other parliamentarians that we've had on the top table here tonight also commit themselves to pushing our minister to do more, to say more.